Amazon Web Services says it will no longer host Parler. And Parler says it's suing in response. Brian Stelter is with us. Brian, the doors for the avenues for President Trump to communicate directly with his base have been pretty well shut off.
They have been pretty well shut off. The president could hold an old-fashioned press conference if he chose. He could deliver a videotaped speech on YouTube. I think he's still able to publish on YouTube, although he has not recently. And Richard, that's part of the issue. The president doesn't seem to be trying to get word out anymore. He held an event today giving somebody an award, and there were no cameras. So we're not seeing the American president on camera. And his Twitter account is his most valuable megaphone. It's what he cares about the most. And that's been away for several days now. We all know the president doesn't drink, but it's as if people think he's a drunk driver, and they've all taken away his keys. And there is some, suspicion, and in some cases, criticism of the technology companies for perhaps doing this in a coordinated way. But it reminds me of a couple of years ago when one platform and then all the others banned Alex Jones of InfoWars. Once one of these tech CEOs has the courage to take action, it seems like everybody else has that same courage very quickly. I don't know if it's coordination so much as they just look around, they want one person to do it, and then everybody else follows because they believe, in this case, they believe Trump is a threat to the public.
Brian, I know that the actions of the president have been particularly egregious, but with your First Amendment hat on, with your reliable sources hat on, does it make you at all uncomfortable that they have taken these measures?
Here is the area that I'm the most interested in now. What's the appeal process? What's the follow-up process? What's the reversal process? Is there one? Now, different companies have taken different actions. Twitter says this is a permanent ban. Others have suspended Trump's account or taken action against his campaign, which leaves the door open for him to come back in the future. I do worry, not just in the case of Trump, but also some of his supporters who have been banned, some of these QAnon loons who have been wiped off the internet over the weekend, some of these fundraisers, these grifters trying to make money off of gullible Trump supporters, they've been deleted off the internet this weekend. In those cases, those might be some really bad people and some crooks. But in 5 years, in 10 years, can they come back to Twitter? Is there an appeals process? I think that's one of the unsolved issues here, one of the unresolved questions, as these companies make it up as they go along, Richard.
Right, but if Twitter and others are the new town square, and we all accept that you can't shout fire in a crowded theatre. And to a certain extent, what the president did was shout fire in a crowded theatre. But surely Twitter et al. Do have public responsibilities where their bar for suspending or eliminating must be high.
Yes, but at the same time, though, they are all just, if we just break it down, they are all just private companies. And they can all just close the door and not allow me to buy a ticket to go on the ride.
Yeah, and he's right. I don't know how many of you have read Section 230. Section 230 gives these big tech companies, especially on social media, immunity. And I have to tell you, I looked over this case between Amazon and Parler in court, and Amazon is raking Parler over the coals. You got to read what's out here. There's several articles. This one is from CNN, January 13th, 2021. Parler was removed from Amazon. And Amazon is pretty much saying that Parler is the one that demonstrated unwillingness and inability to remove from the servers of Amazon Web Services content threats on public safety. Amazon wrote, and they were able to prove in court that they were people in Parler, their users, that were inciting and planning rape, torture, assassination, and they named public officials and private citizens they wanted to assassinate. They said it was rampant with racism. In response, it highlights more than a dozen samples that Amazon said it reported to Parler, including calls for a civil war and the deaths of Democratic lawmakers. The tech company CEO, including Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jack Dorsey, members of Professional Sports League. These are people they wanted to kill that they wrote out there. And they were able to bring that evidence and present it to the courts. Former Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao and U.S. Capitol Police, among others. Parler did not immediately respond for a request for comment. Amazon denied that it interfered in Parler's relationship with its users and claimed that Parler's antitrust allegations do not meet the basic threshold required for the Sherman Act claim. Parler had alleged Amazon was engaged in a conspiracy to eliminate a competitor from the marketplace. Amazon said that Parler's suit failed to define a relevant market or specify how competition was harmed. Amazon also leaned on Section 230. The law has been heavily criticized by President Donald Trump that grants tech platforms immunity for their content moderation efforts. That is precisely what AWS did here. Remove access to content it considered excessively violent and harassing, the brief said. The litigation could thus become a high profile test of the law that comes under scrutiny by both Democrats and Republicans. Well, they must have paid these politicians a pretty chunk of change to get immunity like that. That's all I got to say, because they all seem to have it out on social media. Every single one of these platforms have that. But y'all, please tell me what you think. It look like Parler is not doing so well in this round, not unless, there's some more court in the future where they can prove their case, but don't, with Amazon, with all the evidence of what their users were posting, they didn't do so well. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.